Find all my people.
Hey. Let's see. I have to hold with this.
Don't know who else we got. I'm going to try this connect thing again. We don't know. I didn't reboot, so I don't know if it's going to work.
I was trying to set up my webcam on my laptop, and yeah, shut off at 11:59. I was like, no.
Yeah. We're live, so.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if it's going to connect. Let's make sure. Get everybody. Thank you. Sean came in muted. He's the man. Okay. All right. I don't know if there's any other speakers. I don't see the other speakers yet. So we're going to go with what we got. All right. If I missed somebody.
Somebody named Stephanie's saying hello.
Hi, Stephanie. All right. So Tony, we're going to mute. So go ahead and get started with the recording. Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Nicole Whitlock with the eCom Seller Summit. And in today's session, we had a change in plans. So we have our amazing group of speakers and support team that's here to answer several of your questions regarding e-commerce. So up at the top, I have Miss Kelly Ward, the eCom mom. She's part of our awesome support team. Then below her, I have Miss Celia Rawlings. She's also part of our support team. She's been part of the team for quite some time. We have the awesomely amazing Mr. Sean Mayo, who we're going to see a little bit later on. He has a great session you don't want to miss about sourcing. And then we have Tony Mitchell as well. So I am going to do what I can to help facilitate part of your questions. We had some additional speakers that, oh, there's another speaker. All right, they're here now. So we're going to make sure we get all the speakers on before we get any further into this. This is an opportunity for you to ask e-commerce questions, and you'll be able to ask your questions over the next 45 an hour, and our awesome panel will all take a shot at trying to do what we can to help you in your business. So as I sent out the email, I said, have your questions ready. You can submit your questions in the chat window that's part of the Zoom. If you're on Facebook, I'm going to keep refreshing, and I'm hoping that one of our leaders will make sure that they can send me a message so I can make sure I get all of the questions. So we have the amazing Miss Keisha Bass, who also joined us. So thank you, Keisha, for making time in your busy schedule to join us today. So let me go through and see what questions that we have. You can put your questions, and then we will go I'm there. Okay. I'm getting hit up at the same time. Sorry. Okay. So we have a person that says, I sell on eBay, source from Amazon. Is there a software to track the price changes? So does anyone have any suggestions for software that tracks the price changes?
Well, sure. If you're sourcing on Amazon, I'm not sure where she wanted to track the changes, but I mean, Keepa is a great, obviously a great tool for that. You can even, I believe now it also takes you over to eBay as well. So it can find pricing there, but you know, it depends on if you want to know when prices go down. They don't track prices going up, but if you want to know, it's a great tool for tracking price drops. So you can just go to Keepa and you know, look at any listing that's on Amazon. And the way Keepa works is it actually looks at it only looks at products that people have looked at before. So they obviously can't track every product on Amazon, but they do track millions of them. So if you're not familiar with Keepa, you can go and look up that listing, and anything you really want to see. I always look at that at Keepa, especially if it's a new listing, because then from then on it'll track it forever. So you know, if you see a product that's not quite maybe at the price you want, you can track it, and they'll send you a notification or an email when it hits a certain price point.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. And now, does anyone else have an additional software besides Keepa? He mentioned Keepa. It's Keepa. That was the software that he mentioned. Does anyone else have another software? I know some of you have used tools like Infinii to track things. There's other tools out there. Right now, it escapes me the tool that Barbara mentioned yesterday. I'll see if I can find it and get somebody on my team just to go see if they can look for it. Are there any other tools? But there is another tool, and as soon as I can think of it, I will let you know.
You talking about Camel?
No, not Camel. And I know that there's other tools like,
DSM?
Huh?
DSM tool? DSM tool?
DS, yeah, maybe that.
Mhm.
Price changes. There's a couple of them I've heard over the years, and I don't even know if some of them are even still active tools. So
A lot of the Amazon price.
yeah, SKU Grid. That was another one. SKU Grid. I couldn't think of the name. Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of the Amazon pricing tools and tracking tools have gone out of business the last couple of years because Amazon changed their rules for affiliates, and they were all making money by they would insert an affiliate link, so anytime anyone went to Amazon from their sites, they would get, you know, they'd get a commission. But they changed that, so if, you know, one person who uses your link ever is a reseller, you know, they find that they're buying things to resell, they would cancel that company's whole affiliate account. So, you know, the vast majority of all those companies have gone out of business now. Keepa stood in business because they have an API for, you know, web developers, you know, or people who create products for Amazon sellers like we do. So we pay them thousands of dollars a month for access to their data. So that's how they stood in business, but most of the other ones are gone now.
Okay. All right. So there you go. I don't use those tools, so I apologize for not knowing the answer to that question. But yeah, I don't use those tools. Okay. All right. Next question. Let me see. And I'm going through from the window to the chat, to the chat, to the window. So if you have a question, you can actually submit it in the group, or you can submit it in the chat. And we have an e-commerce panel that's here to help you in your business real time right now.
There was a question about Keepa that came in, but I couldn't see the whole question.
it's about sourcing used books and retail arbitrage. She wants to know how many, like finding out how many sales have been on a product.
Okay, so finding out how many sales have been on a specific product. I know that Jungle Scout has like an estimator tool. Like you can put in the seller rank and kind of get an idea, estimated what the sales have been on a specific item. There's Chrome extensions, a couple of different Chrome extensions out there in addition to, I know Keepa, there's a DS viewer that'll give you some estimates on sales on a specific item that's already listed on Amazon. It's a Chrome extension. Anyone else?
Well, I use the Keepa Chrome extension, but since they changed it so you can't see the sales rank unless you subscribe. But it was basically, it looked like a mountain, and every time it went dip down, that's how you know how many sales. So you can like see in the last month, it sold, 5 times. So, then you can, even go back to a year, see is it, maybe this is a seasonal item and it sells really good in like June, July, but in December and, January, it's not selling. So, then, well, maybe I'll send it in that time of year and not this time of the year.
Okay. Anyone else want to add to that? All right. And then they said their question is, do you recommend going ahead and buying Keepa? I mean, if it's a tool that you're going to use for your business, yeah. Again, anything that you're going to acquire, my recommendation is always going to be in the profit first before you start investing any significant amount in tools. So at least have made a little bit of money in your business, because at some point you can get tool heavy and then you're not making any money at all because you get all these subscriptions going out. So anyone else have any feedback or suggestions on that? You're muted, Sean. Go ahead. We want to hear you.
So we definitely, recommend all of our clients use Keepa. I mean, all your competition obviously is. And it's only 15 euros, which is about $17 to $18 a month. I know everything adds up, but I've always said that Keepa was the best free tool on the market for Amazon sellers, and even at that price, I still believe the same thing. I'm really not a fan of all of those, including unfortunately the ones that you mentioned, because none of them, and the vast majority of Amazon sellers don't understand this, but there's no reality in those estimators. So the only real way to know is if you're the only seller and look at your sales. But past that, using that Keepa graph, as she mentioned, you look at those drops, and I've made dozens of videos on just that, interpreting those graphs. And it's super simple to look at the last 7 days or 30 days and just count how many times they dropped. And the only way to have a real drop in rank is by actually having a sale. So those drops in rank that spike down means there was at least one sale. So you're going to know exactly how many sales there were in that time period. All those estimators, what they do is they look and see what the quantity of each seller has, and then they go back 24 hours later and see how many sellers and see what the difference is. But they only do that at like 1,000 and then 5,000 and 10,000 and anything in between. They just make an estimate based on that. And the bigger picture of that is when you're looking at it today, it's not telling you, hey, there was 30 sales in the last month. It's saying if the price is exactly, if the rank is exactly the same, you're going to get that many in the next month. And we all know that, the rank is updated every 60 minutes, so that's never going to happen. And, with the estimates and, future calculations, all of that usually means it's way under or way over.
Yeah, and that's true. That is absolutely true. So Keepa.
Just look at that graph. I mean, 30 seconds to a minute, you're going to have a real good estimate of that. And, watch some of my videos and you'll see how to do it, super simple. I know there's a lot of information in the Keep It graph, but you just need to look at what you need, which is usually, a sales number, which you can see by looking at the sales rank history.
All right, good feedback. Thank you, Sean. The next question is, what structure, so it says if you're starting the business with a partner, if advised, what structure do you suggest? What is advised in regard to filing taxes? So one, structure, and two, what's advised regarding taxes? So we got Lysandra and then Tony raised her hand, but go ahead, Tony, and then we'll do Lysandra.
Well, the first thing before I would even look at having a partner is to make sure that your goals are the same. Because if they're not, then the partnership's going to end quickly and it's going to be ugly, because you've got to make sure that you and that person, if it's a partnership, want to make sure that it's not going to ruin a friendship. So I get some sort of legal document, whether it be LegalZoom or whatever, to make sure you have it in paper exactly what's going to happen. But that's my first piece of advice, is I'd first make sure y'all are on the same page. Because if you're not, like, for example, one of you is into FBA and the other one is into Shopify and all the other stuff. I mean, yeah, that's additional sorts of revenue. But what if one of you likes toys and the other one likes, I don't know, help me, Nicole, bundles, clothes, I don't know. But if you're not looking at the same thing, then, and you don't have the same philosophy, how long is it really going to last? That's my 2 cents.
Okay, well, go ahead, Ms. Lysandra. Thank you, Tony.
So, kind of what Tony is saying is absolutely true, is to figure out how you're going to do business before you actually get into business. Because a lot of times what happens is that, we spit shake and then, we're in business and then try to figure stuff out along the way. And that's simply not the best route to go. And the structure, get the business part right first. And the structure is really going to depend on a lot of different variables, because, your tax picture is not just you. It also includes your family as well. So if you have a spouse, what kind of money they're earning. So there's a lot of different moving parts when it comes to that. And so that's why I don't recommend you go jump into the fire with LegalZoom, because they'll just let you do what you want to do. It doesn't mean it's the best thing for you. So you definitely want to get some consultation before you make that decision on business structure. But with that in mind, partnership agreements, regardless of the type of structure, whether you do a partnership, multi-member LLC, same thing. If you decide to, corporation, all of that stuff, you need to have how you're going to do business down first. Who's going to do what? When you're talking about money, how many bank account signatures are going to be required, really get down to the business end of how that business is going to run. And that's why you get a third party person that has absolutely nothing involved in this business to ask you the tough questions before you go getting into business. And then, like Tony said, you guys got 2 different ideas of what's going on. And then, it all goes to hell in a handbasket really quickly. So figure out how you're going to do business first, and then make those decisions, get some consultation into what's going to be best for the business and, your respective families, all of that stuff. But if you have a business that's growing and you need help, I encourage you to, you can get some outsourced help even locally with sources like TaskRabbit or something like that to help you in your business first before you take on a partner, because when you take on a partner, you also lose ownership. So, you got to really figure out how you're going to do the business, who's going to be in charge. Like that it really is a real thing. Like when you don't agree on how the business is going to go, in which direction, how are you going to come to that conclusion? Because starting a partnership is easy, but trying to buy the other person out, that can get that can get really complicated and convoluted. And like Tony said, you wind up losing some friends and family members over that stuff. So I hope that helps.
Anybody else have anything just to add to that, or move on to the next question?
Yeah, I just, I'm not an accountant and an expert in taxes like Cassandra, but, I've actually had a lot of experience with businesses and partners, and especially with Amazon, you want to be very careful to, I always say at least get an LLC if you're not going to incorporate. Obviously you have to have a multi-member for partners, and I've gone it alone and, done it with partners, but I don't think what anybody mentioned is that, if you have an LLC, they can't, if you do it as a sole proprietorship or I think a simple partnership in some states, then, if you sell somebody something on Amazon and they die or get sick off of food or topicals, then you're liable. But if you have an LLC, you can only be sued for what, the company owns. And usually for Amazon sellers, that's only going to be product. So you don't have a lot to lose. You're not going to have, and especially if you don't have insurance, because I know a lot of Amazon sellers don't have, that product insurance like they should. So, those are some other things you really need to worry about.
That is true. Okay, next question. That was good answers. Thank you all. Okay, so if you're a person that's managing several income streams and you have family commitments, and Tony, I got to get you to mute for just a second. So, family commitments. Can you share any tips or tricks on organizing your time and workflow?
Okay, am I getting to talk? I'm going to anyway.
Yes.
I started laughing because my day starts at 4:30 in the morning because I go work out 3 to 4 times a week. And that's going to be my first thing. My day starts at 4:30 and I crash. I'm out at 9:30. There, a lot of times they'll have a meeting. I'm like, it's too late for me. But the first piece of advice about managing your time is figuring out what's important. That extra committee, is that really important? Because I'm a school teacher on top of everything else. And for the last 2 years, I've been telling Nicole I want to retire. And I keep saying that every year. And my husband's still not going to let me retire from that. But eventually he will, I think. But you've got to take care of yourself, and got to make your family and you priority. Because if you're not healthy, then you can't get anything done. But you got to prioritize and figure out what's important to you, what's important to getting your business done. If you really are serious about this, is it okay that the house looks a wreck? Because right now mine is, and it's not okay. I've had to take more crap out of this house in the last 2 weeks. Nicole's laughing because I've taken back $400 in product this week alone. It's been a nightmare. But, it's important to keep that's driving my husband crazy. So it had to go. But at the same time, you've got to figure out what's important to you, what's important to your family, and make sure your goals are the same. One thing my husband and I didn't do originally is that he did not believe that I would really take this on and be serious about it. And looking back, we probably should have, if you are an educator and you don't get Social Security taken out of your check like in Texas, we probably should have filed it under his social versus mine, because we're having to pay a lot of tax because of that. And he's wanting me to reopen my store under his, and I told him he's crazy because I've been ungated in too many things. So we just pay the tax and go on with it. And he should have believed in me a little bit more. But, you got to figure out what's important and make a list. Even, preferably in writing, but half the time I don't have time to do it in writing. So it has to be a mental list, but I try to get it done the best I can.
All right. Okay. Go ahead, Cassandra and Tony. Can you mute yourself? Okay.
Yes.
Plan your time. I'm a big proponent of that. You have to look at and be realistic about your time. I think that's where a lot of people fail. And so when you plan your time, plan your days, and one of the things like Keisha is telling, like for me, Friday is laundry day. Like if it's not done on Friday, by Saturday it's not getting done, and I use that as a small example, but that's really what it is. And you have to really put the things on your calendar that, hey, if you've got a half an hour, then you got to bust out that half an hour and what you're going to do in that half hour. So you have to be intentional about your time and intentional about planning your time, and then being realistic about your time. If because I'm like Tony as well. I'm usually up by 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, so I can try to get the workout in, because other than that, it ain't happening. And I'm dead by 9 o'clock as well. So, but if you know that you really need to focus on your family between 4 and 6 o'clock, then that's what it is. You need to focus on your family between 4 and 6 o'clock, and not try to put your work in, because you're not focused, you're not present with your family, and you're not present with your work either. So you have to be really diligent. And if you plan, I have a calendar that runs from midnight to 11:59. So I have my time blocked out when I'm sleeping. I have my time blocked out when I'm waking up, when I'm focused on family, all of that blocked out. And then once you do that, then you can figure out where you can work. And then that's when you work.
I think Keisha, go ahead.
Yeah, so I would just add on. I mean, yeah, that's totally, I agree with what everyone has said. One of the things that I feel like that I learned early on in e-commerce was the ability to outsource. And so when I realized that there were people that could list items and they could do a much better job than I could, then there are tasks that I look at in my business and say, okay, what do I need to be involved in, right? And what can I now hire someone and train them to do that particular assignment, that particular task, so that I can now buy back my time. So I think as an entrepreneur, our whole goal is to be an entrepreneur so that we can have freedom and stuff like that. So, but if you're spending all your time on tasks that don't push the needle per se, and that you can give to someone else, I think it's important to really identify those tasks. So like, creating listings and stuff like that. Like even with my Amazon business, I don't and I have listings with tons of variations. I am not doing that. I mean, I'm totally not going to do that. And so I just hire people that can do it, pay them, whatever. I mean, even today, my husband, I had some stuff to ship out. I'm not even going to the post office, right? I even outsource to them. So I'm like, hey, can you take this to the post office? You have to leave for the day, so really outsourcing. I used to outsource to my kids, right? So my older son knows how to use a shrink wrap machine because I taught him how to do it. So then I would just go purchase the stuff, bring it home, boom. Can you just, get this shrink wrap for me? I tell him what to do, walk away, go do something else, right? So I think that's, the ability to not feel like you have to do everything, right? And especially as women, we feel like, oh my God, I have to do everything. I mean, so make enough money and outsource as much as possible down to cleaning your house. Everything is outsourceable. Okay. I don't want to clean toilets. That is why? There's people that can do it way much better than I can. Right. So make money, right? The whole idea is to make money so that you don't have to do the things you don't want to do. Right. So give someone else a job. And I think we as entrepreneurs we create jobs, right? We're creating jobs and stuff. So look at your business and say hey, what can I get rid of? What can I take off my desk so that I can spend more time making more money? So that's what I would say. And be okay with at some point. Sometimes it's going to be imbalanced, right? I think that's the other thing too. There are going to be times it is just going to be freaking imbalanced. Okay, there's going to be where you're going to spend way more time on your store, your e-commerce business. And so really being able to communicate with your family that, hey, you're building something. And so anytime you're in a building process, it takes more time and focus and attention to that particular thing. And so I think that's, part of what we have to understand. It's okay that there are times. Now, you don't want to stay in balance for the rest of your life, right? But we're human beings. And so because of that, that's just the way things are. If we were tables or inanimate objects, everything would be equally balanced. We spend an equal amount of time with our family, equal amount of time with our business, everything will be equal, but we're not inanimate. So everything is always up and down, ebbs and flows, and just be okay with that from the jump.
And then I didn't know if Sean was going to add something, but if not.
Yeah. I got lots to add to this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we outsource everything. I mean, we're kind of an extreme case because we have, dozens of income sources. But yeah, I mean, like Keisha said, I actually have a team of people cleaning my house right now. It costs like $100 a week, and in the time it's going to take us to clean our house, I can make a lot more than $100. So, we do that. We have a laundry service. I have a service that comes and fills my car with gas every week. And I have a personal assistant, and we, basically block out just about every minute of my day. And whether that's, spending time with my family or, whatever it is, we're still blocking out that time. So, because that's really what, the whole point of doing all this is, so you don't have to go to a job and so you can spend time with your family and build something for them. But at the same time, I schedule that out. So, so other things don't get in the way, and obviously outsourcing whatever you can for our business. We use a ton of VAs. I have dozens of remote workers, whether they're in the US or the Philippines. We still hire remote workers based on, the level of, quality of them. Some of them are, based in the US, and I pay hundreds of dollars an hour to, and, some we pay $5 an hour to, but really, if it's not something you physically have to be touching, then, for $5 an hour, even if they're not as skilled as you are, if you can train that. We try not to do anything more than, 30 days myself. And after 30 days, you should be able to train somebody else to do it, and then you can move on to a new task. And, I have so many businesses that now, it's really important that I can think about the big picture and, to grow our different software packages and find better ways, for our clients to grow their own businesses. And if I'm out there, searching for keywords or, creating Amazon listings, that's really not, or mopping my floors and cleaning the bathroom or doing laundry, it's really not the best use of my time.
Okay, I'd agree with you there. The last thing, and we'll move on to the next topic, is I was going to add it. We're going to wrap this one up because we got like a bunch of questions starting to come in. But the last thing I just wanted to add is, when you look at your schedule, the one thing that I do is I schedule a lot of the things that I'm going to do. I'll do it on Sunday. I do a scheduling of my business on Sunday. And how much time am I going to allot if you're running multiple businesses? How much time income producing activities of those businesses? So I do that on Sunday, and then the other, so that way I can plan out the entire week. So I know how many hours I'm committing to, one of my income streams. How many hours am I committing to another? How many am I committing to another? That might be one way to successfully make sure that each one of your businesses gets priority. Now, I'm going to tell you in the beginning, you probably don't, but you really want to focus on one thing and get that going really, really well before you add another. Having multiples going and none of them making money is not worth two pennies. So you got to make sure that you got one of them into profit and that you got one of them being extremely productive and that you're successful in that one before you add on to it. So one of your businesses, as Keisha said, might be imbalanced. You might be spending, all of your time for 2 weeks or 3 weeks on that one business before you start to scale back and then start adding time to your secondary and then your third. But you do have to plan out every hour and every minute of your day, and you have to have production slots. And so that's one of my recommendations. And Kelly, if you got 2 seconds, and then because we got like 6 questions now that I need to add. So go ahead.
I say I sell on multiple platforms. So what I do is on my days off from my full-time job, I'm gonna say for this set hours I'm gonna work on eBay. This set hours I'm gonna work on Amazon, and this set hours I work on Poshmark. That way it's chunked, and I'm not going back and forth between different things. And then I find, what can I do when I'm waiting in the doctor's office? I can share my stuff on Poshmark. That kind of stuff. And another thing I do is, we talk about outsourcing. I outsource my grocery shopping. There's ClickList, and Walmart has, where you can just go and pick up your grocery. You don't, that buys you, and it's like $5. If you got to pay $5 to get an hour and a half back, that's something, you don't have to worry about virtual assistant, maybe if you're just starting out, but that's the way you can, when you're starting out, to buy some time back.
Okay. So our next question, thank you everybody for that provided input. So we have a newbie with limited funds, is drop shipping. What's the best way to get started on Amazon other than Alibaba and AliExpress? How do I find wholesalers to work with? And I tried to Google and didn't find anything in the US. So I want to take that question, and trust me, we have more piling in. So I'm gonna try to manage the time now. I'll do this when we got to stop. Go ahead.
I'll start. Oh, go ahead, Kelly. I'm sorry.
As I say, the Dollar Tree or used books is a great way to start on Amazon with low cost items.
Yeah, she's talking about drop shipping. And so she's asking, do you have any wholesalers to work with in the US? So that's a question.
That's going to be hard.
And I think Sean has a session that's coming up, but Keisha just unmuted. So go ahead, Keisha.
No, I mean, I was just gonna, say like, I think it's a matter of thinking about, is that the best model when you have limited funds and, you want to go into a business model. It's to look at what's possible, what's available, and say, okay, is really going into wholesaling when you have limited funds really the best way for you to do this at this time? So that was really my, feedback or whatever. I don't have a list, but I'm just thinking that, just the thought of going into wholesaling with limited funds just doesn't seem like maybe the best model for you. So maybe Dollar Tree or used books may be a better model considering you have limited funds.
And then you can reinvest, as Sam said. Go ahead, Tony. Thank you.
Okay. My idea, I realize drop shipping doesn't really cost you anything, but at the same time, you got to rely on people. And, a lot of us also want to do a really good job. Another thing is how I started when I finally figured out what I was doing after meeting Nicole was using my coupons and getting into school supplies, especially when they had the coupons right in September. And I was finding notebooks for buy one, get one half and spending $1. And actually I got them for free and because I had $1 coupons. So, I mean, whatever, and that's the thing, like Keisha says, and Kelly said, whatever and whatever you feel comfortable with. I mean, you may not be a Dollar Tree junkie. You may like the Dollar General, or you may, whatever that you can get really inexpensively to get started with. And you got to make sure that it's worth your time. I mean, because that's the reason I was returning recently, was because it wasn't worth my time. So you got to figure out what's going to make you the most money with the least amount of time. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Okay, is it my turn?
Yeah, your turn. Go ahead.
I'll try and be quick, but I am one of the biggest haters of drop shipping. Drop shipping is just a horrible thing to do, especially if you're to be an Amazon seller. You need to read the drop shipping policies about 100 times before you make any kind of decision on that. You cannot drop ship from any retail company. So that means you can't drop ship from Walmart or Target there are, if it's a legitimate drop shipping company who will send in an unmarked box, then it's all right. But the bigger issues are you list something and those drop shippers are usually not very speedy. So your metrics can drop down pretty quickly, especially if you have to start canceling orders. You can cancel a handful of orders if you're a new seller and they might suspend you. I could come up with a million reasons to talk about this for an hour about why, Amazon, should probably suspend you if you're a drop shipper. But slow shipping, canceled orders because they fell out of something. They don't send you an email and say, hey, we're sold out of all this stuff. They're just sold out when you try and order, and then you're out of luck. Now, there's some big drop shippers who sell, who knows, thousands, tens of thousands of items, but, they have very expensive custom software that they only sell, if there's hundreds in stock. And as soon as it drops past a certain amount, they unlist it on Amazon, and, they have, dozens or hundreds of VAs that are fulfilling all those orders, or even have automated software for it. So as a new seller, that's not the way to go. The way to go is to do exactly what I did when we started in 2012, and that is we went to yard sales, flea markets, and thrift stores, and there is a ton of stuff there as well as Dollar Trees. Again, if you go to my YouTube channel, I've made videos sourcing at Walmart, sourcing at Dollar Tree, and I know you have as well, Nicole, you know, showing you, you know, the exact products I source may not be there, but the way that you people source in these videos that you watch are important. The kind of products they're looking for. You know, if you can sell in grocery, you know, there's a ton of good candy there. There's going to be a handful of toys, almost always, if you go to Dollar Trees that, you know, they've just been discontinued. You know, I mean, I've made thousands of dollars on single products at the Dollar Tree. You know, just by finding, you know, you look for those name brand products and, you know, you're usually going to do pretty well with them. So you know, there's a ton of options other than drop shipping.
Right. And so I will wrap this up. So I was going to say, if there wasn't any of the panelists, I would not recommend drop shipping on Amazon if you don't know what you're doing. If you're new, never drop ship on Amazon if you're new. Do what you know, see what you have around the house, and go from there. And revisit your model. Keisha's absolutely right. So next question, pros and cons. And I'm gonna hold this up because we're down to, we got 12 questions now. Well, we have more than 12. So pros and cons of getting a reseller's permit. We have to have short answers.
Well, I guess the con is you have to file your quarterly taxes with, you know, your state, your sales taxes. You got to collect that and, you know, you got to file that. And that takes, you know, unless you have an accountant or a CPA, then you have to do it yourself. And that takes time away from you be able to do some income producing activities.
Anyone else want to answer that?
As far as cons, I mean, that's really the only one, you know, that you have to submit. Even if you sell nothing, or I shouldn't say sell nothing, if you collect no sales tax, then you still, you're still responsible for submitting that. And depending on your state, there are some hefty fines for, you know, it's not a percentage of what you sold, it's whatever they figure you sold or whatever they feel like, you know, it's going to be your late fee. You know, it's a fee. It's not like, oh, I didn't sell anything and I'll submit it next time. When they tell you to submit, you have to submit it, and it's super easy to do. You know, and the pros are you don't have to pay sales tax. A lot of states do not reimburse you for sales tax. But I mean, I should say that, you know, a few states do because the majority won't. So, you know, sometimes you can go back there and get those back or even get a credit towards sales taxes that you owe because, you know, that tax is supposed to be, you know, for the end user buying, and you're buying for resale, so you shouldn't have to pay it. But if you're doing retail arbitrage, there are some stores that, you know, absolutely hate resellers now, mostly because of people doing so many returns. You know, so Target, places like Target and Kohl's, you're just not going to be able to use that. And if you do, they may not even let you check out. You know, so, but, you know, there's stores that are great, like Walmart, for example. You can register on their website and get, and be tax-free even buying online, or you can go to the store and they'll give you a reseller card. And then you just show that when you check out and you won't have to pay taxes. So, I mean, the upside is so huge, you know, compared to, you know, the downside, which is just you know, submitting, which I mean, literally takes 30 seconds. You fill out a few, you know, a few things, and if you didn't collect anything, you don't know anything.
There you go. Okay, so the next one is you talked about insurance, and is there a specific company that offers this?
Yeah, I don't know the name of her company, but there's a great girl named, I should say a woman named, that was me, Ashley D. Haddon, Haddin, and she runs a company that actually now I think she just specializes in Amazon sellers.
Yeah.
And you know, she's great. So I just look her up on Facebook, and she'll give you a quote. She basically has the best quotes. You know, out there. I know there's some other companies. We actually used to use State Farm, but and it's called product liability insurance. So, you know, if you sell products on Amazon, then, you know, you can get that. And the Amazon rules actually state, I believe now, if you sell more than $10,000, you're required to have that. I think it's $10,000 a year. So, you know, basically everybody, you know, is supposed to have that.
Okay. All right. And say Ashley and say her last name again. I know exactly who you're talking about. But go ahead.
Hadden, Hadden.
Hadden. There you go. You can look her up. Okay. So then the next one is, let's see. Someone said something about the Sean, and he said a chart for everything. That's absolutely correct. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Drop shipping doesn't need any funds. Yeah. Okay. So let me scroll down. I'm trying to go all the way down to the bottom. Okay. Next question. Oh, those are all comments, not questions. All right. Let me go over to Facebook, see if we got questions over on Facebook. And go over here. All right. So this person says, I want to sell my own products on Amazon. So what do you recommend for people who have their own products? And we had our last session, we were talking about if you had your own product. They want to get started selling their own products on Amazon. Anyone?
Have a lot of money. I'm just kidding.
Say that again, Keisha.
A lot of money. You gotta have a lot of capital, okay? So I'm just messing. But yeah, it's, research. I'm actually working with Becky on the whole private label thing, and it's not for the faint of heart. Not for the faint of heart. So just
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of private label. But if you already have your products, then obviously you want to have it on on the biggest store in the world. But there's just a lot of rules now because so many people taking advantage of it. But pay per click. You can if you're going to be the only seller, so you're always going to have the buy box. And just good pictures, good description, and spend a lot of money, on Amazon pay-per-click ads to get, to get your sales rank up. And you got to have a good product. You get a bunch of bad reviews because it's not a great product, then, the market, no matter what you're doing and what you're selling, the market's always going to sort itself out. If you're a content provider, or if you're, selling bottles of water, if you don't have a good product, it's not going to do well, and especially on the internet, it's going to do very badly. Because people can leave reviews and people can tell everyone else what they think about it. So make sure you have something that's actually quality, to offer your customers, or actually Amazon's customers, because they're not yours, before you get started. So that should be your first step. And if you think you have something better than the rest of the market, then you do need a lot of money to invest in pay-per-click, because that's really the only way to get your product ranked up. And whatever you're selling, there's probably hundreds of people that's selling something similar. So you really need to be able to step out from everyone else.
Okay, and I'd agree with you there. I know that there's processes, like if you have a product and you don't want, let's say you get it up on Amazon, like you said, the customers that you get are really Amazon's customers and not yours. So you need to have a process and a procedure to be able to bring those customers offline to your specific site or your specific page or your email list. So if it is a product that you've produced, make sure that you have a process, you create a process to be able to take them offline. One of the things that Barbara mentioned yesterday was, like, in your, whatever your product is that you eventually sell, make sure you have like maybe a little card in the back or something that says, hey, if you like this, please come to my site and get an additional 10% off, and you have your site. You can bring them to your site and get them off of Amazon. Sometimes you'll find that if you've been selling on Amazon, Amazon will create a similar product if your product is actually getting traction. So then you've got Amazon's competition because they will do that to you sometimes. And then the other thing is, you can, people, if there's a product that's getting traction, of course, there's going to be somebody that's going to recreate it somewhere else, or maybe you haven't locked it down with your manufacturer and they are making similar products. So then you got somebody that's private labeling the same product that's on point. So you want to make sure that, there's I forget what it's called, that you can get your product like restricted on Amazon so that you're the only seller. So there's things you want to think about, copyright, all this other stuff that you think about if you have a product that you want to put on Amazon.
Yeah, definitely. Product registration cards are great. But just remember, if you're not the manufacturer, that will get you immediately suspended. So never try and send people to your own site if you're not the creator, if it's not your product. I don't know if I cut out there, if you cut out, but.
Yeah, I cut out for just a second. I don't know what happened. But yeah, I heard part of what you said.
Okay, I'll just repeat it. So they're called product registration cards usually. So you put a card, tell them to register, and then you'll get something for free, in the future, or discounts on your website. But if you're just an Amazon seller, you cannot put thank you cards or anything leading them away from the Amazon site, or they will immediately suspend you. It's like one of the biggest no-nos on Amazon. Like if you, on eBay, your eBay customers are actually your customers, and eBay is the platform. But on Amazon, they're Amazon's customers, and they retain those customers, and they expect to for decades, or even generations, really, is their point. So, you cannot do anything to bring a customer away from Amazon. Don't say, come here for 10% off, where you could do that on eBay. But, with Amazon, they don't want that, and they'll suspend you with the quickness.
All right. And she says she's the manufacturer, so she makes her own product. So you want to register your product with Amazon since you are the manufacturer, and there's a way to set it up so that you.
Right. You can insert a card and says, go to this link to register. Probably you just want to put a QR code on there and a link so they can just scan it with their phone, take it right to the page, and register, and then you'll have their email, and, send them emails for the rest of their life.
Okay. All right. And where's the best place to purchase UPC codes for bundles?
I just use national barcodes. I think they're on eBay or something like that.
Yeah, I forget what the companies are. I know Barbara's like a beast at that stuff. A lot of times with bundles, I don't know if she talked about that. I didn't catch her session, but you can get what's called a GTIN exemption, and she even has some free training on doing that I used to send to our clients. So a lot of times you can get an exemption from using a UPC code. But there's a lot of companies that just have generated them randomly. That's why, if you're buying like 100 of them for $2 or something, they're probably not legitimate ones. You should probably be paying at least a few dollars a piece for them. Some companies charge dozens of dollars a piece. So if they're not registered and I don't do private label or use any of that, but if you don't have a legitimate one, Amazon looks those up, and that's, another big no-no with them. They changed their rules a couple years ago about that because there's just so many like fake barcodes people were selling, and then, the product creators had no idea, and it created a big mess on the Amazon catalog.
All right. Okay, so I'm trying to see if I have any other questions. This is your last time to ask. If I missed your questions, I apologize. I'm looking. We'll take one last question. If you have it, type it either in the chat or type it in Facebook, and then we will close out this session. Okay. Not seeing it yet. Anybody else sees a question, go ahead and blurt it out. I don't see any. So I do want to thank you all for taking the time to be on this panel today and to be able to openly answer questions for people that are either growing their e-commerce business or trying to scale their e-commerce business. I appreciate each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to help answer their questions. This will be uploaded, so it should be available in the next 2 to 3 hours, and you'll be able to connect and watch the replay. So thank you again, everybody. Bye.